Looking at him every day. I just haven't interacted or whatever, but I see Franny's still there as of yesterday. Then we have 10-4 showing up. 10-4 says Freemasons always busy with their creepy Freemasonry BS. Fran says, yes, plagues. The most were well poisonings. All right. Well, I wanted to give an update on that Idaho nonsense. The sheriff refuses to name the Idaho shooter. Now, this is as of yesterday. I don't know if they actually came out with his name, but they tried to say they said he was like a 20-year-old. They're always like 20 years old. You ever notice that? They're in their 20s that are pulling this off. I find that strange. More often than not, they're in their 20s. 20 years old. What were you doing when you were 20? Were you plotting, planning? Did you have all this kind of weaponry and AR-15s and all kinds of stuff to do these things? No. The average 20-year-old was. When I was at 20 years old, I was in college and I was working out. Basically, that's what I did. Work out, college, study, rinse, repeat. That's what I did. Right? 20 years old, that's what you do. You don't have to be in college, but if you're 20, usually, typically, not nowadays because a lot of them are lazy, but back then you worked. All right? Or you're in the military, joined the military at 18, fresh out of high school. But setting woods ablaze and then sniping firefighters at 20, I think not. Anyway, let's get into this. Let's just roll with it, okay? The tragic sniper ambush on Idaho's Canfield Mountain that left 2 firefighters dead and another seriously wounded has stunned the nation. Has it? I haven't heard anybody talk about this. I came across it because YouTube just happened to have it front and center when I opened up my YouTube on my iPad and I cast it to my TV to watch my favorite channels. So I was like, all right, what's this? And I just looked at it, but I haven't seen anybody really covering this. Not on BitChute or YouTube. I don't see anybody posting about it on Fascist Book. So, but whatever. Maybe I'm missing something. But now it's not just brutal violence that has people asking questions. It's the sheriff in charge of the investigation. Kootenai County Sheriff Robert Norris continues to withhold the name of the shooter, citing ongoing investigations. You remember? Train derailment. We'll investigate and get back at you. Oh, look, another shiny object. Food processing plant goes up in flames out of the blue. We'll investigate and get back with you. Oh, look at this shiny object. Remember that? Well, according to the Kootenai County Sheriff, he says it's an ongoing investigation. Ongoing. Never ending, maybe? Never getting back with us? Never going to reveal who was the shooter? So he says that's why he can't reveal the name of the shooter. And this sheriff was citing ongoing investigation and fire conditions near the crime scene. So that refusal by the sheriff to name the assailant, if you will, that refusal might have been understandable in the first 24 hours, but with federal agencies swarming the area, as I showed you, and mounting public outrage, because the public wants to know who the fook this is, right? Who did this? Something just feels really off. You got all these agencies there. They should know who it is by now, right? Especially if he's dead. Duh. You can't identify him. You got everybody and their brother in agencies there. A whole day has gone by, and you're citing ongoing investigations and fire conditions as to why you're not going to say who this bitch was, right? This patsy, this fall guy, whatever. So people pissed off. They're like, "What you talking about, Willis?" They're like, "Why are you not letting us know who this is? What's the deal?" And so now the Sheriff Norris's background is raising eyebrows. It turns out this isn't your average small-town sheriff. According to public records and his own past statements, Sheriff Norris previously worked in L.A. and trained with the Joint Regional Intelligence Center. Hold on to your hats. Because, bitch, this one's for you. I ain't going to say this bud's for you ever since that Mulvaney shit. But this one's for you. Listen to this. This sheriff in this Idaho County where this crap happened, the sheriff is acting shady. He won't let you know who the fook is, the name of the person that did this, supposedly, right? That did all this, right? The 20-year-old. He won't reveal the name. Well, it turns out he worked in Los Angeles and trained with the Joint Regional Intelligence Center. But it gets better than that. That's not all, folks. That's not all, folks. This sheriff right here, this guy right here, right here, he also reportedly underwent training with Israel's Mossad and Shin Bet. Now, I don't know what Shin Bet is. Shin Bet? You Shin Bet? That sounds oriental. But he also reportedly, allegedly, as they like to say, right? Reportedly, allegedly. Come on, did he do it or did he not train with the Mossad? Word out in the street is he trained with Israel's Mossad and Shin Bet, the same elite agencies responsible for counterterrorism and espionage operations overseas. Yes, that Mossad. MK? All right? Now, some people are not calling this a false flag. All right? But we got to be real about this. What are the odds that the only man controlling the flow of information in this bizarre sniper ambush just happens to be trained by two of the most secretive intelligence agencies in the world? And it gets even more curious. So let's get this straight. This guy right here, Sheriff Norris of this county, trained in LA, worked in LA, trained with the Joint Regional Intelligence Center, and he reportedly trained with Israel's Mossad and Shin Bet, elite agencies responsible for counterterrorism, and espionage operations overseas. So he has his hands in the Israeli cookie jar, does he not? Right? Am I missing something? Believe it or not, call me naive, but back in 2016, I'll never forget this. I went to Kroger after work, right? Grocery store, the Grok store. And I seen this guy. He was like in his 60s. And he had a militarized uniform on, but it seemed more like, well, yeah, military more. But he carried a gun, and he had a badge. So I went up to him and I asked him. I said, "Hey, man, what force are you on?" And the main takeaway out of all this is he literally was training with the military with Israel. He was like training with Israel. Israel was training him or something like that. That was right here in this county that I live in. I was like, what? I never heard of that. I was 46 time. I never heard of that. So I think he had something to do with law enforcement of some government agency, but they trained with Israel, and I think the Israelis were over here training, something like that. But it was kind of like what this guy was into, training with the Mossad thing, Israeli. Social media users pointed out that the FBI reportedly got involved with Norris during one of his re-election campaigns in 2019, but the documentation has since disappeared. A dead link, no transparency, no follow-up. So let's connect the dots. 2 firefighters ambushed after being lured into a wildfire. A sniper with a high-powered rifle waits in the brush. The shooter dies under mysterious circumstances. Well, again, no footage. I didn't see any footage of any of this. Did you? So the shooter dies under mysterious circumstances. The sheriff scoops up the scene and says he'll come back later for the rest. No ID, no mugshot, no motive. No manifesto, unless I'm missing something. And the man running the show, trained by Mossad. This sheriff. It's no wonder people are asking questions, and they should. The American people are sick and tired of being told to sit down and shut up every time something doesn't pass the smell test. If this was truly a lone gunman, then prove it. Release the name. Fact, release the footage. I want to see some body cam footage. You ain't got any drone footage? No? Release the motive. Release the evidence. Stop hiding behind press conferences and half answers while federal agents lock down the scene. Because the longer they stay silent, the louder the questions will get. What did you do at the crime scene? Where is the body? Where is the body cam footage? Where is the shootout footage? Who is this guy? What's his name? Where's his mugshot? Mossadi? Huh? Israel. He's linked to Israel. Feel free to rip him a new one, BitChute, as only you can do. Link to Mossad. acting shady. Acting very shady. The residents there in Idaho, I not the hoe, they the hoe. They're a little teed off. They're like, I'm pretty sure there's a name. Where's the mugshot? I'm pretty sure you need to be taking a mugshot, or at least AI this damn thing. Can you AI a mugshot? Anything? You're looking pretty sneaky there, Mr. Mossad. Am I pronouncing that right, BitChute? It's late. I thought you'd enjoy this tidbit of information. All shadiness. And the sheriff is linked to Mossad. And that's a memo. 4, or I've touched on the subject, but I want to go over it again because it's in the news cycle. I also saw, hey, what's up? It is the 2nd of July, 2025, or so they tell us. Also covered this subject, but I covered it before he did. And now it's back in the news cycle. Back in the news cycle. So let's discuss this. Sick, evil, satanic. Would you want a computer that actually dookies? Would you want a computer with human cells in it? I covered this before. Meet the dystopian startups making biological computers from human cells. Or as they say in Espanol, biológico. Computadores, I think. From human cells. It poops. It's sentient, but not conscious yet. Cue into figurative fiction. Picture a dystopian future where computers don't just mimic human thinking, they're powered by actual human brain cells. That future's taking shape in Cambridge, England. Cambridge, England, appreciate it, True Channel, your neck of the woods. Appreciate it. Making the computers over there in Angle Land with human cells. It's sick. It's sick. And there's a lab over there in Cambridge, England, where a groundbreaking device called CL1 is blending biology and technology in ways that could transform how we compute. I don't want to compute like this. Is this even worse than quantum D-Wave? This is extremely satanic. Developed by Australian startup Cortical Labs and UK-based BitBio, this shoebox-sized machine houses 200,000 lab-grown brain cells wired to silicon circuits. Ew. Creating a biological computer that's already turning heads. Unlike traditional computers, which guzzles energy, CL1 operates with the efficiency of a human brain. Is it the libtard variety? Because it's going to be dumb as a bag of hammers. Quote, our brains process information using a fraction of the power that modern electronics need. Han Wang Chong, CEO of Cortical Labs, told Future Today, something like that, FT. Quote, this could open the doors to smarter robots, stronger cybersecurity, and immersive virtual worlds. I don't want any part of this. I don't want computers and brain cells of people meshed together. This is sick, iron and clay. But this also reminds me. This reminds me of that movie, Saturn Tree. You ever see that movie? With Farrah Fawcett and, oh my God, Kirk Douglas. Now, the critics panned it, and the movie didn't do well. But I remember seeing this movie. It was 1979. I was a kid, and we were passing by a movie theater on a base in New York, an army base. And I remember seeing Saturn Tree, and I was a big sci-fi. I was into it big time, and ghosts and stuff like that. So I wanted to see Saturn Tree. I didn't see it till years later. But in that movie, Hector is the name of isn't that a Spanish name, Hector? I think so. Only Hectors I've known has been Puerto Rican. But anyway, I digress at any rate. Hector, the robot, which is scared the shit out of me, this robot. Big ass damn robot with a damn small ass head that extended out. But he was powered by an actual human brain. It was like in this big capsule that he inserted in his body. He was powered by that. I'll never forget that. Don't forget RoboCop. Part man, part cop. No, what is it? Part man, part machine, all cop. RoboCop. Remember that? Human meshed with computers. Hector, Saturn 3. There's a lot of kind of sort of flavor, that predictive program. Well, here we are with an actual computer the size of a shoebox, powered by human brain cells. And then they want to say, well, this will help in robotics. I mean, I guess you're going to have a RoboCop, right? You're going to have a lot of Hectors from Saturn 3 walking around with human brains and capsules that are powering them, right? Is that where this disgusting shit's going? Oh my God. I couldn't imagine. Low energy computing, oh the joy. Low energy computing has fueled a race to develop biological systems with cortical labs leading alongside competitors like Final Spark in Switzerland. So then you got competitors in Switzerland, Final Spark, this other startup, and Biological Black Box in the US. You got Switzerland's Final Spark, you got the US's Biological Black Box, you got the UK's Cortical and other places. All these startups are in a race to develop this. You can't just make this up. CL1's brain cells grown from human skin derive... How the hell is a brain cell grown from a human skin? What is that? Your skin on an arm? How do you get brain cells out of it? I don't know. Human brain cells grown from human skin-derived stem cells, whatever, are carefully arranged in layers. One type sparks electrical activity while another keeps it in check. It's like balancing a gas pedal and brakes, Chong explains. This precision, says BitBio's Tony Oosterveen, gives CL1 an edge over rival approaches using less uniform mini-brains. The result is a platform for testing how brain cells handle information, with early experiments already yielding insights for neuroscience and drug development. Well, here's the problem. I see one of the problems is, can these brain cells get cancer? Brain cancer? And then the computer just acts all weird and malfunctions? Are these brain cells hooked up to these, powering these computers, are they susceptible to Alzheimer's? Like the bees that from all the chemtrails, the aluminum, nanoparticulates? Will that accumulate in the stem cell derived brain cells? And see right there, like that Terminator. Will that happen too? And then over time, these computers exhibit Alzheimer's. Suddenly, they forget all the information and have the computing power of, I don't know, an 8-bit an 8-bit Nintendo system. Maybe. I don't know. I guess stay tuned. We'll see. I don't know. One of CL1's quickest feats is that playing the classic video game Pong, its predecessor, Dish Brain, learned to move. Fucking commercials, man. Okay, so this thing, CL1's predecessor, CL1 is the protege or prototype of a early version of what they want, the brain cells powering the computer. It's the early version, right? Well, its predecessor, CL1's predecessor called Dish Brain, learned how to move a virtual paddle by receiving electrical rewards for good moves and disruptive noise for mistakes. So these things can learn by rewards or punishment. But it's not going to be conscious at all. Don't worry about that. It'll never gain. It's sentient though, but it'll never gain consciousness. CL1 has taken this further, revealing how substances like alcohol impair performance on how epilepsy drugs like carbamazepine boost it. I don't know. Oh, that's another thing. Can you get it drunk? Can you pour brewskis on it and get it drunk? Oh, I'd have some fun with that. You know what I'd do to it too? Fucking brain cells, computer. I'll be poking it with needles. I'll be putting fire by it. Hey, you son of a bitch. You little bastard. You fucking evil piece of shit. Putting needles on you, son of a bitch. Huh? You gonna take a shit in this computer? You gonna shit, huh? Motherfucker, you gonna shit? How about we pour some brewskis on you and get you drunk, huh? How about I pour some acid on you, bitch? Ew. Are you gonna scream out too? This is sick. But it also oozes out something like poop. I guess only the rich are going to get them because they're slated to start around $35,000 by late this year. If you have 35 grand laying around, you can get one of these 6 sons of bitches. If you have it to just throw out down the shitter, you could buy one of these and just experiment. Like I said, you could put torture brain cells. Oh, fucking Satan's piece of shit, you. Brain cells on a computer, I'll teach you a damn lesson. Torture it, you know what I mean? Pour acid on it, get it drunk, pour beer on it. Put a flame by it, just you can have fun with it, and then finally put it out of its misery. It's disgusting. Human with computer, human cells, right? And I hear it actually craps too. So have fun with that. You're gonna be wiping your computer's ass. What are you gonna do? Put a diaper on it? Bizarro world. Oh, we're fact. We are fact. Come on, man. Pause, Dan. Okay, this is Dr. Martin. Dr. Mark Trozzi. I never heard of him. It's an account. MD. Another doctor. You're talking about death. Doctors talk about it's weird. But Dr. Mark Trozzi's account on Twitter, X, I never heard of him, but he posted this Dr. David Martin, his video, who appeared on the channel Man in America. Now, I've seen this channel on BitChute, and I've seen it on Rumble. Man in America, it's some guy, he has a kind of a mellow background, you know, and he has a guest on every now and then. I didn't know about it until I saw it on BitChute not too long ago. But this guy's, he's saying that there's going to be some kind of a planned biological attack on Independence Day, July 4th, right? Now, I've covered this before. I've mentioned it or in videos past. And I'm just putting the information out there. I see in the channel talking about, well, why haven't they done this already? You know, why haven't they done this? Why haven't they done that? We got sleeper cells. Why haven't they been activated? We got terrorists inside the country. Why haven't they done this? Why haven't they done that? Well, sometimes I think I think they move the goalpost. If we get ahead of the narrative, the story, and the internet's been around for 30 years. I think it started in '95. We had access to it, and I think MTV chat room was the first thing I had access to. So, from 1995 on, the internet has grown. Now we know the internet came, I do believe, from the military. They had it way before they released it to the public, because all the technology they give us, it's just crumbs. It's old hat to them. But see, the more we get ahead of the narrative, they have to switch their goalposts. And sometimes I think they say this to scare us and just fool with us and feck with us, right? But we also have to keep in mind the Georgia Guidestones. That's a real thing. They knocked that down. Deagle.com, Deagle depopulation projection for this year will come to pass. Hopefully not. But if you see weird shit happening where a lot of people are dying, you might want to say, maybe it is Georgia Guidestones / Deagle depopulation projection. You know they don't want us here. You know that, right? So perhaps this is going to happen. Maybe not. I think nothing's going to happen. It's another day at the office, I think. But could something other than this happen? Anything's possible. Anything is possible. So, just going to put it out there and let her in.
And we sit back in this stunned mullet silence of going, clearly they're not going to do it again. Well, bad news for everybody. Tom Ridge, that's right, the Secretary of Homeland Security, when it was first established under the Bush administration, collaborated with a group of people to come up with a scenario in which they are calling for, and listen carefully to what I'm going to say, the death of 280,000 Americans on July 4th, 2025. In 1 month from today, there is a plan that involves the murder of 280,000 Americans on a single day. And the best part of it is they're going to blame a foreign actor for it, except for a tiny little problem. Yeah, if you hop down to page 9 of that National Blueprint for Biodefense, Seth, and highlight the first major paragraph under the U.S. House of Representatives, let's go ahead, for the sake of everybody on here, make sure that we read it. We were attacked, and we don't know who did the attack, but the infectious agent they used killed 280,000 Americans and infected at least 400,000 throughout the country on a single day, in addition to 200,000 dead and 800,000 sickened animals. Now, if you scroll up for a moment, Seth, and keep going until I tell you to stop, just keep scrolling, scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. What you're going to find when you get to this page, oh, there you go. Look at ex officio members. If you look at the ex officio members of this particular committee, there are two names that I want to call your attention to: Gerald W. Parker and George Post. Those names are names that people should be familiar with, but they are not. These are veterinary scientists and gain-of-function scientists who have done an enormous amount of work in a variety of pathogens. George Post famously was very much involved in the Arizona contribution to the gain-of-function research that brought us COVID-19 and all of those kinds of things. And here we have the same...
Let's press the pause button, because we all know COVID-19 was not real, and if viruses aren't real, how the fuck are you going to have gain of function? But I digress. They still plan for something, do they not? There's no COVID, man. What's wrong with you? There's no COVID. Viruses don't exist, haven't you heard? And if viruses don't exist, how the fuck does gain of function exist? But I digress. At any rate, maybe something they'll release. Maybe put it in the chemtrails. Maybe be a mysterious fall. Maybe nothing. Maybe nothing. Just put it out there.
Actors. In this case, we have the ability to go into their research and find out what kind of pathogen would go after humans and animals on the same day. How do we figure out what that is? And it turns out that there are a bunch of options. Nipah virus is what they refer to in this scenario, but equine encephalitis, which is a huge gain-of-function problem, is something that these guys have been familiar with. And there are several other pathogens that these guys have been working with. And the fact is that...
Maybe it's a quaxinator. Maybe they're going to turn some frequencies up from these cell towers and stuff. Maybe they're going to get the quaxinated. Maybe this is the time the quaxinators drop, and they're going to say, oh, this is a virus, or this was a biological attack, which is what the needles were. But people volunteered for that, to get that COVID shot. So you volunteered for that. Maybe now is your time. They didn't get the deaths that they wanted to out of us, so maybe now is your time. Well, maybe 280,000 of you is your time. I don't know. I'm just saying, I wonder if the quaxines come into play in frequencies. But I digress at any rate.
They're telling us that on July 4th, on the celebration of the 249th year of America in its formation, we are going to allegedly have a biological weapons attack. And do you realize, Seth, that not a single person in law enforcement, not a single person in the White House, not Bobby Kennedy at HHS, not a Tulsi Gabbard at the DNI, not a single person is actually taking an action to interdict the actors that I'm talking about. This is not a problem that happened during the Biden non-presidency. This is a thing that is a statement of intent to once again take advantage of human dynamics. So where we are going to appeal to fear, we are going to appeal to this notion that somebody out there attacked us, where we know already who the actors are. We have a high probability of knowing what they're going to say the pathogen was. And remember, these are not pathogens. These are weapons deployed against humanity. And as I've said many times, we can go back and look at the likely delivery mechanisms, which are rocket-propelled grenades that have blast-resistant pathogen concussive devices that allow a pathogen to be spread over a stadium, over a park, over any one of a mass gathering event where you wouldn't know the...
Well, there you go. Put poison in something and release it in the air in a localized location where thousands of people die, right? The stadiums could hold up to 100,000 people at a time. Now, do this in several different areas or whatever, right? Why couldn't they put this in the chemtrails? Just add a little something extra. Instead of a slow kill, people die instantly, breathing in. Animals, bugs, people. Why not? Putting the poison. They're already poisoning it with nanoparticulates, but it's a slow kill. All they have to do is just ramp it up in the chemtrails or do what he's saying and blame some other foreign country. Meanwhile, it's the enemies within, as usual.
Difference between a firework going off and a pathogen ballistic device spreading toxins across a crowd. In fact, if I were going to do it, I would actually do it during the fireworks celebrations. So we know that this is actually a fully planned, fully baked, like you said, Event 201 kind of thing. And yours truly is the only one that started talking about it.
Well, listen, What about parades, like big parades, like in New York City? I guess if they're gonna stop their bullshit terrorist riots and shit like that. But if the place like New York City or other big cities, they get upwards of 1 million people, do they not, attending these parades, like Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. I guess they do parades for 4th of July, right? So I mean, that would draw a huge crowd. I mean, what better way, right? And then blame it on this, blame it on that. So there's that. But perhaps nothing will happen. Just tossing it out there. All right, everyone chillax. Don't get your panties in the wad and say, fear mongering. No, 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 no. No, 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 sir. No, ma'am. Don't be afraid. Be not afraid. I'm not. I'm not afraid. Not afraid. Everybody, everybody. Not afraid. Going about my business. I already got my plans for Friday. Don't worry about it. But if something happens, you kind of sort of were warned. Now, does this make you... Are they trying to get you to be afraid to gather in crowds? Could be. You know, psychological operation too, right there. Get you not meet up and have a good time, stuff like that. No, I say go about your business. Go about your business. Enjoy your day, you know. And there's that. I don't think anything big is going to happen, but I don't know. I just, you know, I've seen a lot of these days come and go where they play, well, this is supposed to happen this time, this is supposed to happen at that time. But we've also seen simulations like Event 201 that did happen here. But there's other things like Cyber Polygon that hasn't come to total fruition. I mean, in pockets of the world they did blackouts here and there, but nothing big deal yet, right? SPARS was supposed to already have kicked off. I think, no, it's this fall, I think it's supposed to kick off. So we'll wait and see if SPARS, that nonsense, starts this fall and ends in, I believe, February of 2028. And supposedly a virus comes out of Oklahoma and makes its way to Georgia. Yeah, that's still on the table for this fall, along with the human brain cells computer, the release of that for 35 grand. So there's that. It's late. Let's see if I got anything else in the tank for you. Anything else? Then you got this guy talking about Bill Jasper. I don't even know who this Bill Jasper is, but maybe you do. I'm not, hey, what's up, where I know it all. Nor do I care to look up who he is. The thing is, this guy's going to talk about how the getting rid of government agencies and such, Doge and all this stuff that they do, because we're literally going to be handed over to a new world order. You believe that? You believe that? Just toss it out there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ed Griffin, and it's my honor today to introduce you to an old friend of mine. Not an old friend, but he's not as old as I am, but I call him an old friend because we've been friends for a long, long time. I first met this fellow. His name is Bill Jasper. He goes by William Jasper, of course. But I met Bill as he sort of stumbled out of college years ago, wanting to be a journalist. Well, he did become a journalist. As a matter of fact, I've followed him for many years because he's one of the few guys writing about world events that really, I thought, understood what was going on behind the scenes. And he's going to be speaking at the upcoming Red Pill Expo to be held in Tulsa, Oklahoma on July 12th and 13th. And he's going to be talking about the United Nations. Now, he's well qualified to speak about the United Nations because for over 30 years of his journalistic career, he went to all of the United Nations meetings, international and local, traveled around the world, and sort of stalked these people as they held their secret conclaves and kind of revealed their goals to each other and boasted about it. And he was, in the beginning, he informs me, he was the only journalist out of thousands that would come to these meetings, thousands from around the world. He was the only one for quite a while that really was asking probing questions. And of course, you can imagine after a little while, he became rather unpopular in that crowd. Well, anyway, he's going to be talking to us about the United Nations. Well, what about the United Nations? And his title of his talk tells it all. Well, not all of it, but most of it. He says, the United Nations on the brink of world government. Okay, so what? what's wrong with world government? I mean, aren't a lot of people think that world government is a really good idea, don't they? I was taught that in school, as a matter of fact, that world government was a much superior idea than all these nations at war with each other, killing each other by the tens of thousands, the millions in wars. We should put an end to wars. And one of the ways to do that is to get rid of these nationalistic governments and have just one government. And that way you couldn't have a war because there's only one government. And of course, that has another side of the coin. If you only have one government and it becomes tyrannical, well, then there's no escape. There's no way out. You're stuck, brother. You're stuck. And that's what he's talking about. I've often said and shocked my friends that I wasn't opposed to world government. They said, what, you're not? Are you a globalist? I said, well, I might be. It depends. If we're talking about world government, what's wrong with that? If it's the right kind of government. Nobody asked the question, what kind of a government? They just said, if it's a government, it's bad. Well, that's pretty much the story of history. But does it need to be bad? What if a world government was based on the original principles that were written into the American Constitution, with the Bill of Rights and limitations on what the state can do, that individuals were held to be superior in rank. We, the people, were the creators of the government of the United States, and the government can never exceed its creator and so forth. We had some built-in ideas that were rather unusual in history. What if the world government was based on those principles? Would it be so bad? Well, I don't think it would be. Of course, we've never had that option. We're always given the idea that if it's a world government, it's got to be good. But in fact, as you'll hear from Bill Jasper, what they're trying to build is not the kind of government that we used to enjoy in the United States, guaranteed by the restraints of the Constitution. But we're looking toward a world government, as they describe it, as governance, by the model of collectivism. It's not the model of individualism, but collectivism. And that means tyranny. So we're very against it, not because it's world government, but because it's world government based on the model of collectivism. Now we get to the real topic, which is the United Nations is on the brink of becoming exactly what they've been saying they were going to become all along. We're very close to that position. And some people still think it's wonderful, and they don't realize that we're really close to a totalitarian system.
Let me just say this: quoting John Hagee, get the U.S. out of the UN and get the UN out of the U.S. Out of the U.S. Yeah, get the U.S. out of the UN, get the UN out of the U.S. Get them the fuck out of here. Why do you have the headquarters in New York City? I know what some of you are going to say because it's evil. It's bad. Well, I ain't going to argue.
And it will be ruled. It'll be administered by this thing called the United Nations. Now, if you're perceptive and you understand what's really going on in the world, you will notice something very strange going on in America. All of a sudden, many of our leaders, proclaimed leaders, who are talking about getting rid of corruption in government and getting rid of all this wasteful spending and all these terrible, terrible things, these crooks in government, and everybody said, yeah, let's get rid of them, let's get rid of them. And they're going to replace them, though, with what? What are they going to replace the World Health Organization with? What happens when the World Health Organization
Now why would you want to get rid of the World Health Organization if it's the World Health Organization, put that in quotes, health? Wouldn't you want to keep it for the New World Order? That's the part that doesn't make sense. Get rid of the WHO to replace it with something else for the New World Order. That part doesn't make sense to me.
Ends up being a different United Nations group. Okay. In America, we have the FDA. Now they're talking about getting rid of the FDA. What's going to replace it? Is it just going to disappear? No. They're talking about turning that over to the United Nations. They're talking about getting rid of the Department of Education in America. It's corrupt. It's teaching socialism, communism. We're going to get rid of it. Hooray, everybody says. What do they intend to do with it? Get rid of it and just destroy it? No. They're planning to turn it over to the United Nations. And this is going on quietly, and you don't hear anybody except people like Bill Jasper talking about these things. So it's time to listen to this fellow as he speaks to us now on the United Nations on the brink of world government. Bill Jasper.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you for inviting me back to Red Pill. It's an honor to be here with you and with all of the good people that always...
He looks like that Get the Tea guy. I see on, I've seen it on the Doctor of Common Sense and Pastor Paul Begley. Looks a lot like him. That's weird.
Come to red pills. So, boy, this is a very, very important year. There is so much happening, and you've asked me to speak on the United Nations, something that I've been very much involved with for much of the last 50 years. And in fact, Ed, you're responsible for ruining my life in this way. It was your book, The Fearful Master, which caused me to change my view of the United Nations 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago. When I was in college, read your book, and I had been a strong supporter of the United Nations, and that changed my life. So people do not realize that we are headed toward a world government now. We're on the brink of a world government. People have been talking about it for decade after decade after decade, but now the United Nations has been accruing power, has been absorbing power. Organizations like the World Economic Forum, the Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg, they have been pushing for decades to empower the United Nations. Legislative, executive, judicially, militarily, economically, and we are now doing that. So I'm going to be talking about some of the things that are happening. People realize that just a few years ago, we had a United Nations agency, the World Health Organization, put the whole planet on lockdown. First time this had ever happened in humanity's history. How did they do that? How did they do that? The World Health Organization was created in 1948. It took quite a few years for it to get to the point where it could issue a decree, and all of the rest of the health authorities all over the world fell in line. And we locked down the entire planet. Now we have the World Summit of the Future, and they've come up with a World Pact for the Future at the United Nations, giving the United Nations taxing authority, regulatory authority over virtually all areas of our lives. So I've been covering the United Nations for over 30 years. I've been an accredited correspondent at the United Nations in New York and at world summits around the world. And my colleague Alex Newman and other of my colleagues have been covering it as well. And we are now getting to the point, we just had a few weeks ago, the world countries at the UN voted to put a carbon tax, a shipping tax on the whole planet. You're going to be forced to pay those taxes, whether you like it or not, unless we do what we've been advocating for decades, and that is to get the United States out of the United Nations. It can happen. There is legislation to do that. We have to summon the will to do that. If we don't, we will end up under a world government, under the UN. So we're going to be talking about all of those things and the specifics about them. And I think this is something everyone needs to know. We're at this tipping point, and it's a point of no return if we allow it to go much further. So look forward to seeing you all in Tulsa at the Red Pill. Thanks again, Ed, for having me on, and look forward to seeing everyone there.
Tired of the blue pill and its fake reality? Take the red pill and learn the truth about COVID, climate change.
COVID, there was no COVID. It was certificate of vax ID. Show me your papers. Get from point A to point B. But that's what I got for you. Do you think we're headed for New World Order? Well, it's in the Bible. I mean, there's only so much you can do to stave off or try to kick that can down the road or whatever. It's going to happen. Regardless of whose watch it's on, it's going to happen. It's been in the making for the longest time. So there's that. We'll see what happens. Don't be a troll. You know the drill. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, or don't. Anyway, I know.